Good morning, dreamers. How are you today? Hannah's here.
Morning.
She just finished telling me a story about her drive to work last
Uh-huh.
night because it was Southern Ontario's most, first snow. And it was a bad snow last night. And so she left like 2 hours early, did a turnaround, came back, switched vehicles for snow tires, and was still a little bit late because one of the people she works with was taking the bus. And then the bus uh, was canceled because of the snow, and they didn't have time to get plows out really fast because it just seemed to be catching everyone off guard, which it shouldn't have. Because look at the eastern states, and hey, our weather network, it knows what it's doing most of the time. But it was an intense evening for her getting to work. And so she went to pick up this coworker. Well, the coworker is relatively new to Canada and North America. So here we have somebody who's new to the situation and under their own stress, depending on someone else who is under their own stress. And so as I'm listening to her talk to me this morning and relay this story, like this person's texting her and calling her all the while she's trying to maneuver through the snow and ice and slush and trying to do so safely, knowing that there's a mom back home who's very, very concerned that she gets to work safely. And all of these things are going through Hannah's mind, and she's just got to keep her hands on the wheel and focus on the road because she doesn't have the capacity for any more at that given time. Well, this friend's capacity was at zero as well because she was stressed and I'm going to be late, I'm going to be disciplined, what's going to happen, but no concept of what it's like to drive in this kind of weather. And so the calls and the texts wouldn't stop, and Hannah's getting bombarded while she's under this amount of stress. And then when she finally picks up the friend, coworker, this coworker is the stress just flies out of her in verbal conversation. She wants to converse, wants to talk about anything about except the weather, like the weekend and plans for when you have a day off and what your holiday's going to look like, and just inane things that don't matter. But that is how this coworker is coping with their stress. And Hannah, meanwhile, has to drive and focus and get to work, right? So I was listening to this going, how often do we do this? Someone is going through their own stress and they've got their hands on their wheel and they are doing their best to navigate that stress. And we come in at our capacity is at nothing, and we're not sensitive to the other person's stress. And so we just talk about inane things and we try to sidetrack everybody from the stresses. Meanwhile, the stress is right in front of them. It is really, really big in their world in that moment, and to talk about inane things, to try to sidetrack, will actually make them land in a metaphorical ditch, right? If they don't focus on what they need to focus on right here and right now, they not only will take themselves off into a ditch, you will go with them because they don't have the capacity to care for you. And they're working on caring for you. Sorry, Stella, I bonked her in the nose because I talk with my hands. But if we don't give them the space that they need to heal and to grow and to focus on their part of the journey, we can actually endanger ourselves, because these are our people who take care of us, and yet we need to take care of them as well. And sometimes we take care of them by just not sharing our stresses in that moment. And I know they say, tell me, come anytime, come to my table, come to my whatever, I'll be available for you 24/7. But sometimes the person who is available shouldn't be available, and they are walking through their own stresses, and they feel guilty that they might be letting you down, and that's not fun for anyone. And so I just challenge us all today, even in our own darkness, even in our own stress, when our capacity is at zero, let's look around and say, what is that person's capacity? Do you have the capacity to hold anything more for me. And if they say no, I'm overwhelmed, we need to respect their overwhelm, and we need to respect their no. We don't get into their car, their life, and just chat inanely about nothingness. We let them navigate, and we just sit quietly with them, knowing that when they are able, they will come back to us. And the best way we can support them, and therefore honestly support ourselves, is by just being quiet and respectful of their stress. It doesn't mean that your stress doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that your stress is not understandable. But sometimes other people just need silence while they do what they need to do. And snow tires and time. Give yourself lots of time as you drive in this wonderful weather. And calm, patient, understanding mom back at home, not harping on driving habits. You know, it takes a whole team to get through the stress of the season, the stress of life. So look for your people. And when your people are stressed, give them the space they need to process their own stresses. Don't heap on their head. And we will get through it together. Promise. We will. Keep your feet on the ground and your head in the clouds, and just know that I love you. So does Stella. So does Hannah. Have a great day.